Fan.
Join 9 to noon's Nordo. Yes, that Nordo. I'm looking at him right now. At the grand opening for the new TGK Tire and Auto in Arden Hills this Saturday, noon to 2. Enjoy free food, the Firestone IndyCar, and giveaways including 10 free synthetic oil changes every half hour. TGK Tire and Auto in Arden Hills with Nordo. Full details over to KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
Yeah, that'll be fun. There will not, neither, I don't know where Saucy is this Saturday. Probably at the cabin. Probably picking up sticks in his backyard, doing some yard work. He's a big yard work guy. Best lawn in the Twin Cities, actually. You can find it in the Dino where Saucy lives. But I'll be at TGK in Arden Hills, and I'm looking forward to it from noon to 2. It's a liftoff. It's a grand opening. I think they're opening a few different locations kind of in sequence. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And thanks for reaching out to the fan and allowing us to partner with you. It's going to be pretty cool. In studio now, speaking of pretty cool, is Parker Fox at Parker Fox 24 via the X Machine. How you doing, man?
Man, great. It's been a busy couple days, out in L.A., and then me and Taylor actually moved into our new home this weekend, so it's finally...
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, super exciting. So, finally get to kind of wind down this week. And
I want to get to the L.A. thing.
Yeah.
But I want to know, were you guys finally able to furnish? Because I know that was a big part of your process, too. Like, we're talking about it, you got... 8 to 10 hours a week that you're still devoting even in the summertime to Ben Johnson and the crew. And then you're out in the ESPYs, rubbing shoulders with Allen Iverson. Although with your size, you're actually, if you stuck your elbow out, you'd hit him in the head. But at the same time, you're trying to move into your house. You finally found all the furniture?
Yeah, we're getting there. Got a dining room table, got a couch, got some chairs, got all the TVs set up. We're still waiting on dining room chairs, but we're slowly but surely we're pushing along. And actually, the people that sold us the house, they left us a bunch of porch furniture too, which was very grateful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're getting there, but it's a process. This is our first time home buyer, as you probably know. A couple of years ago, it takes some time, so we're chugging along.
Yeah, that was the key. My wife and I bought our first house, and to go back in time, we were 29 going on 30 when we did it. I wish we would have bought our first house at your age, just when you start thinking about mortgages and how to get to that freaking finish line and all of those things. But we did the same thing you did when we bought our first house, and this is super compelling, I'm sure, to some of the listeners out there. But we'll get to the ESPYs. Trust me, it's all I've been able to think about is the red carpet down in L.A. last week. But we did the same thing you did. Our first house, it's like, what you gonna do with that? I mean, that couch looks pretty heavy.
Yeah,
you probably don't want to move on from that couch. Like we tried to keep as much stuff as we could to make it easy.
Yeah.
But I'm in some ways you don't have to deal with what I dealt with, or at least to not the same degree. We moved to where we live now in Chaska in the middle of COVID in 2020. So we got ships circling the port, supply chain issues galore. And we moved into our house. We had already purchased all the furniture, but the only thing we had were a dining room set. We had a table, chairs, and a bench. And I got 2 kids. We don't even have their mattresses for their new beds yet. They're sleeping. Yeah, it was the worst thing ever for about 6 weeks. Just
horrible.
waiting piecemeal, a little chair here, the L couch there. It was a complete freaking disaster. So it sounds like it went easier for you. Congratulations on the new house. That's sweet.
Yeah, excited, man. It's exciting times.
Now, with that said,
big event, huh?
We don't care about the house.
Yeah.
I care about ESPYs. I care about the swag bag. I care about who you met.
Gosh.
I care about the autographs. So let's just start 10,000-foot view. How was it at the ESPYs with your gal?
Yeah, unbelievable. I mean, when she got told that she got invited and she had a +1, she asked me, and I was like, well, we got basketball. Like, I'll ask the coaches if it'll happen, kind of assuming like they won't let me go with practice and everything. And fortunately, it just kind of worked out perfectly that they were off recruiting for those couple days. And they're like, yeah, just make sure you're at practice on Wednesday, and then you're good to go Thursday, Friday. Because, they were going out to recruit and like they do in the summer. And so I was like, okay, boom, let's do it. And I was kind of like, okay, it'll be cool, but like, who knows how awesome it'll be. And then the moment I got there, it was like one of the most cool experiences I've ever really had in my life. Like something where if I wouldn't have gone, I would have regretted it completely. So, just from that standpoint, just was so lucky to be a part of it. Obviously, all the kind of people you meet there are incredible, but yeah, we got in late Wednesday night, woke up early Thursday, and then the swag bag was like you've been asking, was unbelievable, man. They got us an Uber over to like a little a gifting suite about a mile away from our hotel, and you walk in there and they give you this little card, and then basically each station you go to X's it out. So you got I got the new pair of Deion Sanders blenders sunglasses.
Oh, yeah.
I got the big old Yeti bag. I got a suitcase. I got a couple of pairs of shoes from Wolf and Shepherd. I got aloe sweatshirts.
Oh,
I
come
got
on.
a bottle of tequila from Centron, which is the I guess the Boston Celtics owner owns that tequila company. And then they had the Larry O'Brien trophy over there too. So the Larry O'Brien trophy was there. Me and Taylor got to take some pictures in front of that. Huck Fishing had a brand there. Hypercharge, a bunch of skin, like the whole 9 yards. Like I think we added up like what the total would be, and it was like $2,000 of free stuff each. So it was like, what is going on here?
Wow.
Man? So that was unbelievable. But then the challenge was, okay, we got this stuff in the Uber to our hotel. How do we fit it in our suitcases to bring it back to Minneapolis?
Well, maybe that's why they gave you the suitcase.
And that's why they gave us a suitcase. So that was huge. We just packed everything into there and checked it, and it was in Minneapolis.
Wow, they're
back.
brilliant.
So,
they're absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, they're thinking more than we're possibly ever thinking. So.
What was walking the red carpet like?
Oh, just so cool. Like you walk through the security system, and then Cam Newton's standing right there. So like we're kind of organizing as a group, and then so basically the red carpet, the left side is all media members. So you got ESPN, you got Fox, you got Overtime, and just down the line. And then the right side is the whole station with the photo shoots, and there's a bunch of fans on top taking pictures and screaming your name and this and that. And so you walk in and Cam Newton's right there. So I'm just like, hey, Cam, we're chopping it up for a while, talking, and he was great dude.
Yeah.
He's got the swag. He's got the top cap and all that kind of stuff.
He is a nice guy, right?
Yeah, great guy.
See,
yeah,
that's the thing, and we've joked about it 9 to noon so many times, like Cam Newton and just the preposterous outfits and hats and all of those things. I think Cam Newton's as cool as it gets. Like, and every time I've seen him talking and interacting with people, like Cam Newton's a guy that overall I would root for. And I know, his dad kind of pushing things when he was in college. I get all of that. Mm-hmm. But Cam Newton was super cool, right?
Yeah, so cool. Like, and he was the kind of guy where like, sometimes those celebrities can kind of be like standoffish and in their own world over there, but he was like smiling at me and saying hello and to all the gals that we were with. And, he was a great first person to have there because he just kind of had that like bubbly liveliness to him, like that welcome, welcome to the show. So yeah, that was great. And then
did you get mistaken at all?
No,
because
not too much.
It's an athletic event.
Yeah, and
you are an athlete.
Yep.
And albeit you're not in the NBA and so far is in so much as that, but you are 6'7", 6'8".
Yeah.
You look the part.
Yeah. There's probably some people looking at me like, who is this guy? Like, he's got to be here for a reason.
Yeah, is that Franz Wagner right there?
Is that Jake Layman? Is that, I don't even know. So pick any random wiry white long guy in the NBA and pick him to my name. So, but no, and then, you see all these kind of people and you go down the line and it's like, I was kind of playing this game inside my head. It's like, who is that? Because it's like, I would know him if he had a jersey or or whatever. Isaiah Pacheco was one of those guys where I saw him and I was like, I know who that is. Like, 1,000% know. It took me like a minute. And then I finally was like, oh, that's Isaiah Pacheco. So he was walking with DeMar Hamlin and Myles Garrett. And Myles Garrett had the whole deal on. He had the monocle, what is that, a monicure or whatever?
The monocle?
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah, the eyepiece.
Yeah, the eyepiece. He had the whole outfit on, the whole 9 yards. And behind him was Draymond Green and Jaylen Brown, and those guys came in late. And so anyways, the red carpet was 92 and sunny in LA, and we're on the red carpet at like 3 p.m. So like we're talking prime heat, prime sun coverage here. I'm in a Navy suit, so my whole back is just wet, sweating. Everybody's like, let's get to the AC.
Yeah.
Ended up taking us like an hour and a half to get through the red carpet, which is like, you don't realize how many pictures and how many interviews and stuff these people are doing. But we finally get to this big photo shoot area sponsored by Capital One. They had like the ESPYs deal, and we're up next in line. We waited like 45 minutes. And then Allison Felix kind of shows up at the front of the line. And we're like, oh, she's going to budge us for sure. Like, no question. And she's like, sorry, like, I got to go do my picture because, I was like, you're an A-list. Like, go ahead. You're Allison Felix. You've won how many gold medals? Like, you go do your thing. So, but just so cool, the interactions with people and just how kind everybody was and how, welcoming and how excited everybody was to be there. And I think the open bar helped with that a little bit too. So,
yeah, probably.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let me ask you a super stupid question. So I'm 6'1" when I don't slouch, but I do slouch. You mentioned Myles Garrett, and it kind of reminded me, and I haven't seen now the Vikings are going to be doing joint practices with the Browns here in a few weeks. Yeah, it's going to be super cool in Cleveland, and so Myles Garrett cut out a stone, right? I mean, and most of these guys in the NFL, certainly the NBA, most athletics, they are. Mm-hmm. But he would be somebody that I would be physically awestruck by, where it's like, my goodness, like. Do you get? I mean, you're 6'7", so you're taller than Myles Garrett. When I saw Daniil Hunter, when he went from first year to second year, he went through kind of almost like a teenage puberty growth spurt. And suddenly, how is he going to find a shirt that fits those arms? I am awestruck because I am just a mere mortal. Mm-hmm. I'm all the way down here.
Yeah.
Do you get that way when you see some of these guys? I mean, maybe it's just top. If you met Joel Embiid or something like that, because that's one of the few people on the planet that's actually taller than you. Mm-hmm. But do you get that way when you see some of these guys, like what you see on TV, and then you meet them in person?
Well, I'm such a big sports fan too that it was like I knew exactly who he was when he turned the corner, and we were kind of done with our segment, and he kind of turned the corner and. He walked right by me, and obviously I'm taller than him, but like his sheer size, of his suit, like I had to look down at my shoulder, and I was like, kind of like, I can put my fingers around like my shoulder, and then I looked at his suit, and I gave him like a little knucks as he walked by me, and just the back and the traps and the shoulders. I was like, this guy is massive, man. Like just completely massive.
Superhuman.
And he was with I think Sugar Ray Leonard was behind him and a couple other of those boxing guys. And then actually saw Andy Reid too. And Andy Reid's wearing his suit was so dang big. Like I'm talking way too, he's a big guy. We know Andy Reid's is a big gentleman, but he was wearing this big black suit that was way too long for him. Like you could tell he just
bought it off the rack.
Yeah, just bought it off the rack. That's
the tough thing for us that are built like human beanbag chairs is you need a custom fit suit or you do not look good in any suit. You can't buy it off the rack. You can't.
No, you can't do it, man.
Oh man,
you got to at least get it. You got to at least get it tailored a little bit.
But Andy's the type of guy you just want to almost give a hug to.
Oh yeah.
He seems like one of the nicest guys on the planet.
Yeah, and he was just. You could tell he just had this smiley, bubbly energy to him, and everybody gave their speeches throughout the night, and he accepted Patrick Mahomes' award for him. I think Mahomes is maybe having a baby or something's going on in Mahomes' life where he couldn't be there, and Andy accepted the award, and it was just and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Andy, and I think he's great, but just the competition he was up against with the speeches, they had Nick Saban who gave an awesome speech.
Sure.
They had Don Staley who gave an awesome speech. They had, several people gave these awesome speeches, and I don't think Andy Reid was as prepared as he probably would have wanted to be. And it was just such a dry, oh my God, Andy, get off the stage. So,
well, he's getting to that age too, where
no doubt.
It's kind of like who brought the chaperone, right? I mean, if you feel like the people you're mentioning, even Saban, I know he's older, but certainly, given still kind of his profile and the stratospheric existence he has lived in for so long, Don Staley, women's hoops and the added focus to that. And then, hey, Grandpa Andy rolls up. Grandpa Andy here as well. What was it? So during the ESPYs, it's so smooth if you're watching it on TV. Is it less smooth when you're actually there?
Yes and no. They try to make it pretty smooth. So they had a guy basically running the commercials, right? So if you're watching on TV, it cuts to commercial, and then this guy would come on, and they did a bunch of little bits. And this was actually one of the more fun parts. So what they would do is they would have the band kind of play a song, right? So a song that Don't Stop Believin', what's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air song, that kind of stuff.
Oh, sweet.
And then they'd say, all right, who can finish this song? So then random people would stand up and try to finish it, right? So it was here's Lil Wayne finishing this song, or here's Drew Brees finishing this song, or you had Lisa Leslie stand up and finish this next song. So that was actually pretty cool, the way they kind of bridged that gap, because you could have just had a 3-minute, silence and talking to your neighbor and this and that, but they did a good job of kind of keeping it flowing. And then obviously it's live TV, so when it was 10 seconds left, they counted it down. 10, 9, 5. Everybody clap! Everybody clap! Everybody clap. So they had the whole
applause sign.
The applause sign was on and all that kind of stuff, and that was just kind of cool for me because I have never been to an event like this in a live TV event. So just to see how it kind of works and how it flows was super cool. And then they have the open bar, but they don't want you getting up and interrupting live TV. So if you're going to get up, you can't come back down to the next TV commercials. So yeah,
Sure.
it was actually flawless. Obviously it's ESPN. They're going to be pretty flawless, but the way it was run was next level.
Dude, that's super cool, man. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
man.
How did everybody? I mean, everybody wanted a piece of the swag bag.
Yeah.
I think you had said they may have had to move practice almost to accommodate you. So you know,
bit,
you owe them something, right?
Yeah,
who's getting the blender shades? Who's getting the suitcase?
They got to start bagging. It was actually me and Mac Jones were in the suite, the gifting suite together. So I was chopping up with Mac Jones for a while.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he was a great dude too. He was just, I mean, obviously he's going down to Jacksonville now and probably going to be a backup and changing his role and his life a little bit. But he was
it's a tough road being a pro athlete, even if a
that's
backup.
The life of it.
I think he'll be okay.
He's
in
doing
the grand
all right.
scheme of things.
He's doing all right. Him and his girlfriend were down there and they were interacting with me and Taylor, and it was great. It was great. And then the best part was honestly the after party. And so they paraded us down the red carpet after, and we went to this after party, and they did just a great job. They covered up the pool with basically a dance floor. They had a stage and a whole bar, and that's where I actually met Mark Ingram, and me and Mark Ingram were hanging out, having all that kind of stuff. So it was a great time. The whole event was just so well put on. Met so many great people, and couldn't say enough positive things. And short trip, but probably one of the most cool experiences I've ever had.
Did you get Cooper Flagg's autograph? That was part of the conversation last week.
And he sat 2 rows in front of me too. Like I just couldn't quite make it happen because just with the TV timeouts and all that kind of stuff.
So did he have like his mom with him or something?
So they did the Gatorade Player of the Year or whatever for all the sports. So they had like 10 female high school athletes and
good.
10 male athletes, and they announced the winner live. So they announced the female winner and the male winner, and Cooper obviously won the male winner, but then he left right after. So like all the other high school athletes came, sat back down. They think they're like 2 or 3 rows in front of us, right next to that Giants quarterback, DeVito, the Italian.
Oh, Tommy DeVito?
Yeah, DeVito. Yeah. He's right there in front of us. And then what's the kid from the Jets, the DN from the Jets? It's from Minnesota. Gosh, we know his name. Jackson?
It's kicking me in the face right now.
We'll remember it. But they were sitting there, and Cooper Flagg gets his award, and then he bounced down out. But yeah, the Minnesota kid plays for the Jets. I think he went to Eden Prairie, or he went to Independence Community College, I know.
You're absolutely killing me right now.
I know.
I'm just going to pull up their depth chart and we're going to start. Jermaine Johnson.
Yes. Jermaine Johnson, yes.
He was almost in play. He was a conversation talker 2 years ago for the Vikings.
Yeah, he was. I remember that. And he's had a turned himself into a pretty dang good career. So
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. But no Cooper Flagg autograph, unfortunately. Right. I made all the highlights about him being a Hall of Famer and this and that. I got to get his autograph, but didn't quite work. So got a selfie with Livy Dunn though. So that was a highlight.
For real, that's sweet.
So funny, dude.
She is. She's all over the place right now. Yeah. She's
got another commercial now too. Like I think it's like one of those dog brands or whatever.
And she's still with LSU, right?
I think so. I think she announced she's coming back for another year of gymnastics. And then obviously she's dating Paul Skeens, who's going to be the starting pitcher here tomorrow night in the MLB All-Star game. When's the All-Star game? Is it?
It's tonight.
It's tonight, huh? Oh, yeah. Home run derby
he's starting for the NL?
I think he's starting, yeah. Or he's at least pitching.
He's definitely an all-star. I know that.
Definitely an all-star. But I thought I saw something about him maybe even being the starting pitcher. And
you're probably right.
I'm probably wrong, honestly.
I just got to look. You got that computer up in front of you. Meat Sauce's voluminous show prep for today. What's on that show prep page?
Yeah, actually, we're going to give a shout out here to Sauce. His show prep included 4 last names, which are Rahm, Hatton, Lowry, Smith, and McIntyre. So I don't know where he was going with that content, but we will give Meat Sauce a lot of credit there because it's obviously something triggered in his brain. So.
Well, thanks for sharing your ESPYs experience with us. I'm going to pause now. We're gonna find out if Paul Skeens is starting for the NL, but more importantly, I want to get into the summer league with you.
Oh yeah.
What we saw through a couple of games in Vegas, and I think this afternoon it's the Wolves and Sixers.
Yep.
And that is, let me see here, that's at 7:00, and it's going to be on ESPN too, so you can watch it there.
Awesome.
But I'm just in love with Terrence Shannon Jr. And through 2 Vegas games, I'm ready to make grand scale opinions and proclamations regarding Terrence Shannon Jr. But I want to dig into that and a couple other talkers with you, Parker Fox, in studio with me, Nordo, a show that is produced by Brett Blakemore, who also has the opportunity for you to win $1,000 for listening to The Fan.
That is correct. The cash thing, TheFan and BigDeck.com. I'm going to give you shots. Put $1,000 in your hand at the National Cash Contest. Head to KFAN.com and the keyword bank, what you would make if you win. KFAN.com, keyword bank.
The Fan.
want to chime in on what's happening with your favorite KFAN shows? You can make your voice heard on the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Just let us know what you have to say by texting your message to 64686. That is 64686. Standard text message and data rates apply.
Man, do I feel old. You guys talking about... I'm not even that old. You guys talking about NCAA 25 during the break.
Amazing.
Apparently. Like recruiting kids. You're giving them the sales pitch.
You can schedule
throwing
visits.
around NIL cash. Scheduling visits. The dynasty of college football is upon us. It sounds like the gameplay is maybe even better than Madden, which it sounds like a lot of sports video game players have been complaining about for years because they never change it. It's always glitchy. I've heard all of those things. I do not play video games, so I feel like old balls when you guys are sitting around talking about it, and I can't relate. And
sorry we hurt your feelings.
No, you didn't hurt my feelings. It's just I was left out. Actually, my feelings were hurt.
Are you starting to get some FOMO?
That is not happening.
Oh, okay.
Although one of my buddies,
then I don't feel bad.
One of my buddies actually just up and bought a PS5 specifically for NCAA 25. So I hope that investment pays off.
A lot of people doing that.
What do you think of Summer League, man? I mean, amidst everything, you're hanging out with Mark Ingram. You're having a blast at the ESPYs. You're not getting Cooper Flagg's autograph. But meanwhile, you got to see last Friday the debuts of not only Mr. Dillingham, Rob Dillingham, 8th overall draft pick, ultimately traded to the Minnesota Timberwolves, 27th overall draft pick, Terrence Shannon Jr. What did you think between the Pels game and then the Pacers the other day? Looking forward to the Sixers tonight.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm a NBA guy, as we know, and that's why on the flight I made sure that I could, watch the Wolves game. So it was on my whole flight, so I got to watch basically the whole game on the flight, which was perfect because I can pay attention anywhere. So Terrence Shannon Jr. was exactly what I figured Terrence Shannon Jr. was going to be. He played almost 30 minutes. He was 9 of 14 from the floor, 1 of 4 from 3, got to the free throw line 8 times, made 6 of them. And he was all over defensively. I think he only had 1 steal and 2 blocks, but you could just tell his presence defensively was right where you wanted it to be. So he was a guy that I was watching specifically close. And obviously we were watching Rob, who didn't play well in his first game, went 2 for 12.
Shooting was awful.
He bounced back in game 2, obviously, which we saw. He started out hot, but Rob's the kind of guy where you can just tell that his presence on the court is going to be something that the Wolves want. You could just tell he understands the game well. He understands defensive principles. He knows, what to do offensively in terms of you need another pass or if you need a cut. And he's obviously a ball dominant guy, has the ball in his hands a lot, but, he's a guy that gets the game well, understands the flow. But then you add on these other guys like, Josh Minot, Leonard Miller, Deshaun Nix, Jalen Clark, all guys that are kind of right there. Obviously not as much with Minot and Nix, but Leonard Miller is right there as a, kind of backup for Naz Reid kind of role. Yeah. Jalen Clark's a guy who was Defensive Player of the Year in the Pac-12 2 years ago, tore his Achilles and was out this past year. But he's a guy that GM Tim Conley has talked a lot about in terms of the Wolves are the best defensive team in the NBA last year. How can we even get better? And an answer to that is Jalen Clark because he's so good defensively. And we don't know exactly what his role will look like. He's probably a 2 guard, which means that he's going to have to compete with Nickeil Alexander-Walker for Anthony Edwards' backup minutes. But there's minutes to be had. It's a long season. It's 82 games. And Jalen Clark's the kind of guy where I think he can find some playing time just because he is so good defensively.
Well, let me ask you about that then because, and I'm going to... I like to have both sides of an argument work in my favor. So Dillingham, rough start offensively. Well, let's be patient. It's only 2 games and it's a summer league. Terrence Shannon Jr. looks terrific through 2 games. He's ready to start games. Yeah. So I like to play both sides of it ultimately because I'm just a man-child. But with Jalen Clark did not have a shot in that Pelicans game. And you mentioned it similarly. There was a little bit just more stability in the second game, but Jalen Clark, for me, when things are going well for him, what should I be seeing? Is it truly just this is going to be a defensive, the defensive intensity is always going to be there. It's going to be the nature of whether it's Chris Hines coaching the summer league team or it's Chris Finch coaching the big club. Like, that's going to be the focal point of a Jalen Clark. You mentioned Deshaun Nix, who's actually, that was kind of a revelation to me. Kind of a bigger dude. Like, he's kind of like built like Khalid El-Amin, it almost looks like, where, he's a physical presence down the court, not a speedster by any means, but I really liked him. What are some of these guys? What am I expecting from them? Is it truly Jalen Clark just be part of the club and get some very back-end minutes, but minutes? A Josh Minot, who's been kind of a spark plug, but also a little he seemed a little bit too frantic at times for me, a little desperate a bit, if that makes sense. But is that kind of my outlook? Is these are back end minutes for some of these guys? Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at what the Wolves were last year, you see what their rotation is. Obviously, we lost Kyle Anderson, who was kind of one of those rotation guys. But other than that, we brought everybody back, and we added a Joe Ingles, who's a wily vet that's going to give us some range from the outside. But Matt Lloyd, one of our new GMs, was talking about Jalen Clark, and he called him a pest. He called him a defender, a nightmare. And I think when you talk about a guy that basically he's fighting for 5 to 7 to 9 minutes, you got to get what you can have, right? And Jalen's that kind of guy that I think he understands that. So if he's put into games for, a little 3-4 minute stint, what can he impact? How can he impact winning? And it's on the defensive end. It's picking up 94 feet. How can I, not Pat Bev-esque, but like, how can I get in somebody's head a little bit? How can I get somebody wild up? How can I come in and Steph Curry's been guarded by, let's say Anthony Edwards all game. He's struggling. Okay, I finally get a break. No, you don't get a break. Jalen Clark's coming in. He's going to give you hell for 5 minutes, So I think understanding that role is important. And then, like you mentioned, Minot, I don't think he's quite ready. I think he's obviously wiry and long and athletic, but I think he's kind of that. He looks really excited out there. He does. He looks really excited. He came and played in the Pro-Am last year too. We watched him and he took about every shot and he looked good, and he's super athletic and he plays hard, but he's just not quite ready for that moment yet. And then the big body in Deshaun Nix, kind of that old school kind of Khalid El-Amin type of guard, big body, back you down, post you up a little bit. He's a guy too where it's like, you probably go with the young Rob and the top pick, but Deshaun's right there to, help you compete throughout an 82-game season. So I just love these little pieces that they have. Obviously, you're not going to change a team that just went to the Western Conference Finals. You're not going to completely flip and bring a bunch of rookies and young guys in. But hey, who do we have in this next kind of era when Mike Conley's gone, when Joe Ingles is gone, when obviously Cat's going to be around for a lot of more years, but Leonard Miller is right around the corner. So I'm excited about these young guys we got. And I even tweeted, I think this Wolves team is deep enough to go and win a Summer League title. Well, and the key to it, though, as you mentioned, and most definitely you are correct. You're not switching really. I mean, the starting five is the starting five. So that's been handled already. Nas is the sixth, and we can go from there. But if you think about the ability to strengthen those 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th spots, that's kind of where some of this enters the conversation. And in particular, love J-Mac, Jordan McLaughlin had his moments, certainly not towards, really for the most part, this last year. When did he get hurt? Was it 2 years ago? Yeah. And it feels like, and part of it maybe is just the ascension of Ant as kind of a do-it-all. He's been a ball handler at times when Conley's been out of the mix. And maybe that's just part of the conversation, but he's really drifted and his utility has waned. But the idea of now, can we strengthen that with Dillingham? Is Dillingham going to be a tremendous scorer right away? I think that looks like it needs some work. He's 19. But think about adding the physical presence to Terrence Shannon Jr. So if we're strengthening the 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th spots, that's advantage Howell without, and my thing is, and you get it and I don't, but I've been really impressed with the way that this Wolves Summer League team plays, although execution certainly at a lower level, I'm still seeing the true identity, and that's, Chris Hines, the assistant, is running the Summer League. I still see a Chris Finch team. Does that make sense? So if you're building identities, certain teams have identities. I think the Wolves have one, and I'm seeing that vision play out with the younger cats. Yeah, and Chris Finch is right there behind the bench watching every single game, and he's not coaching. He's letting, Hines have his road, but any great team and great organization is going to have a consistent identity, and for the Wolves, it's turned into this defensive prowess. Indeed, it's who we are. So it's like, if it's who you are as a professional team, your G League team and your Summer League team better follow suit, and you're going to find guys that are going to help you out in that regard. Competition in terms of
starting spot in terms of backup role. And then in the greater scheme of things, competition and practice to get guys better and to become a better team. Like, you need that. Like, you need a Terrence Shannon Jr. coming in and pushing Jaden McDaniels and pushing Nikhil Alexander-Walker. How can we become better? Like, how can we stop being stagnant, bring these young guys in and become a better team? And I think that's something that, our two GMs have done an awesome job, and they've got the right guys in the gym. And I'm excited because we were so close last year, and obviously it's a long ways away, but we got the right guys, and I think we A+ this draft.
I think we did too, and we were joking about it. They take Dillingham, and we had Kyle Rudolph, former Vikings tight end, on the next day, and we were laughing because he's got the athleticism of John Moran. It's like, whoa, hold on a second here.
Relax now.
But with that said, you play that comparison game and all of that.
Yeah.
When I look at Terrence Shannon Jr. and I look at Rob Dillingham, I think it's truly playing out quite simply, and you would feel this being a part of the Gophers.
Yeah.
Is the ceiling of Dillingham may indeed probably is higher, but Terrence Shannon Jr. is just older and ready.
Yeah.
There's a physical maturity, there's a mental maturity aspect of this that allows a Terrence Shannon Jr. to hit the floor running and maybe outperform certainly, some basic expectations early on.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell when you watch these summer league games that Terrence Shannon Jr. is a guy that's played a lot of college basketball. He's played a lot of it. He's 23 years old. He was at Texas Tech for 2 years, Illinois. He's played 4 years of college basketball. He's in passing lanes. He's always out in transition. He making the right play offensively, always making the one more pass. Like, you can tell he's a guy that's played a lot of basketball.
He's a freight train to the hoop, dude.
He's just, I saw it when I played against him. I watched a lot of Big Ten games. He's like, and I don't want to say he's a LeBron in transition because there's nobody like LeBron in transition, but like he has that kind of juice in transition.
Yeah.
Like, he's going at you and you're either going to foul him or he's going to make the bucket. Like, my dad always said it growing up. He said, if you're going to go to the hoop, it's got to be a hoop or a whistle. And Terrence Shannon Jr., he kind of embodies that. So
I dig that.
Yeah.
The Sixers today, looking forward to that. My last thing for you, this is completely out of left field. But you're in studio here, and it hit me because I was looking ahead. We have the State Fair shows we're going to be doing, and usually we'll see PJ Fleck in the mix. Ben Johnson has been at the booth with us at the fair, and we'll have Gophers heavy content on certain days throughout our fair schedule. And it's never too early to plan ahead. What is it, 63 segments, whatever it is. We do the countdown every year. But I was looking at it, and I'm thinking, Oregon, USC, UCLA, Washington, the Huskies in the mix. Is that kind of weird, thinking about, and I don't know when the schedule comes out for Gopher Hoops, admittedly, but does it feel weird knowing these 4 new programs are in the mix and there might be, I think the conference, there's some road and home bits that have already been decided.
That's already came out.
So do you know where you're going? Have you thought at all? It's like, man, I'm going to Eugene. I'm going out west. Like, that's kind of weird, right?
It's so weird because I was never a guy that really watched much Pac-12 just because I'm kind of a bedtime guy. I like to get to bed early, and those Pac-12
no
games
dunks after dark for you?
Not as much. Like, I loved listening to Bill Walton, the rest of soul, but he was a guy that I loved listening to. But just like those games were on so late that I just never really got to watch them as much as I wanted to. But now it's like, hey, we got to go out and play those guys. So we don't go to Oregon or Washington, but we do the Cali trip. We do the UCLA USC. Okay. So I think that's like a Thursday, Sunday, or like a Wednesday, Saturday. And that would be paired
up probably.
Yeah. So obviously they're trying to pair all that kind of stuff up because you don't want Rutgers in New Jersey flying to LA and then coming back and then flying to Eugene and all that kind of stuff.
Wow, how dumb am I? I hadn't even considered it yet. At one point,
it's crazy.
At one point, as Big Ten fans, we were having the conversation about how ridiculous it was to have to fly to New Jersey.
Yeah, I know.
And now you have to make the cross country trip.
That money talks, baby. That money talks. Ooh. But no, I think it's just obviously you want the best teams in the league and you want to be known as the best team. That gives you a better chance of having more teams in March Madness. And if you finish 9th or 10th in your league, you still have a chance of making March Madness. So obviously you want that kind of stuff. You want to play in those moments. But I think for me as a competitor, it's so cool because you look at the history of a UCLA, you look at the history of a USC. Like, these are historic gyms and arenas that I get to go play in and be a part of. And I think I couldn't be more excited.
No, that's cool. And thank you for hanging out with me today.
Sure.
And as we get closer to the season, we can talk maybe in more detail about that trip out west and what the Gophers Hoops team will be encountering with the Trojans and the Bruins. Parker Fox, weekly guest 9 to noon at Parker Fox 24 via the X machine. Thanks as always, man.
Thank you. Awesome time.
Should have brought the swag bag in.
I know,
but that's fine. Well,
it's already unpacked, man. It's all laid out. We're working on this dang closet and all this beauty products. There's too much of it, but
congrats on the house, man. That's
Appreciate
sweet.
It.
That's Parker Fox. I'm Nordo. Wendell Epps is going to be in studio at 11. Vox for the Minnesota Lynx. You hear him on these airwaves during games. Excited to chat hoops. Continue a basketball conversation with him at 11. News is next with Brett. Did we do the cash contest this hour?
We did.
Okay, perfect. So all responsibilities, at least for now, have been handled. We'll be back 9 to noon.
Fan.
What up, 9 to noon, Nordo in for PA. PA has a week off. Important vocal maintenance days in advance of Vikings training camp. Players begin reporting, I believe, Sunday. The rookies, veterans in the mix, welcome back a week from Saturday. Practice is on the field. We will be on the perch. Very excited about it. But in the meantime, News du Nord rolls on. It's brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. Live racing is in season, so get the calendar at CanterburyPark.com. Of course, feeling the felt with poker, blackjack, and table games all year round. My favorite spot in Shakopee. Where are we headed first, Mr. Blakemore?
Number 1.
We're headed to the Home Run Derby. Teoscar Hernandez, the first Dodger to win the Home Run Derby at the All-Star Games today. It's weird that it's on a Monday. I'm thrown off by that the All-Star Game's on a Monday. I don't know. It feels like it should be a Sunday or a weekend thing. But anyways, what I wanted to talk about is that national anthem. And I wanted to play a game. I've got the audio. How long it takes before Nordo tells me to turn off the national anthem. This is Full House, Home Run Derby, national audience, big time deal. I think Grammy Award winning Ingrid Andress is her name.
Is she related to Ursula Andress?
I'm not sure.
The original Bond girl, by the way.
Let's listen.
Bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched.
Uh-oh.
We're so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare.
No. Okay, we're done with that.
Yep.
Okay, and I just want to apologize, by the way, because
That's where I checked out.
I am of the mind, this is kind of a radio thing, for instance, that like when you return from programming, for instance, you return from commercial break. You don't return like mid-anthem. You play the anthem. It's our national anthem. You observe the national anthem. That is of my mind. I know there are many opinions on such things these days. I am of the mind, you're going to play the anthem, you play the whole thing. So I just want to apologize for not standing to that principle. I mean, that's unacceptable. That just shouldn't happen. And
You ever seen the movie Goon?
so I know Roseanne Barr did the anthem
really?
once. That's got to be something special. I mentioned Carl Lewis, or Olympian. Okay, we love Carl, the athlete. Carl Lewis, the singer. We don't need that so much. Some would say that about my raps and parody songs. Again, self-awareness, self-reflection. I'm open to all of it. That's absolutely really that's what they found.
4-time Grammy-nominated country singer who sung that. But no, there's a great line in Goon where someone just butchers "Oh Canada," and the play-by-play guy goes, "A borderline treasonous performance of "Oh Canada."
As I said,
I think we're approaching that.
Francis Scott Key.
Yes.
He's rolling in his grave, and we did no justice with that one. That did not that didn't hit the right notes. As in, she didn't hit the right notes. It was awful. No, that was brutal.
Yep.
But congratulations to Teoscar, and it was Bobby Witt Jr. I love Bobby Witt Jr. The Royals, they're not necessarily nipping at the coattails of the Twins. I think they're 2.5 or 3 games behind the Twins, who are 4.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians in the Central. It's close. I know that's within a handful. And we're all waiting to find out what this plantar fasciitis thing's going to be with Carlos Correa. And Willie Castro is going to be playing in the game tonight at some point for the Twins, so that's super cool. Willie Castro, I call him found money, given what he's provided the team this year. Everyday Willie. Doesn't have the same ring to it as an everyday Eddie, but as long as we keep talking and we get farther away from hearing that anthem 9 to noon, we will all be better for it. Where else are we headed?
Number 2.
We're headed to Miami because the Copa America final between Colombia and Argentina was delayed. Don't worry, nothing to do with soccer itself. Was delayed because fans were bombarding and storming the stadium through the gates instead of paying for tickets. There was video circulating of people crawling through the vents of the stadium to get in, which leads me to believe, I guess this is kind of a soccer bit. Do we have any chance of, we have to bump up security here for the World Cup. We got to take this seriously because you watch games in England, there's thousands and thousands of security to make sure that doesn't happen. Even sometimes over there, it doesn't work.
Can you do me a favor?
Sure.
And I'm going to offer my thoughts on this. And if you could go grab Wendell Epps from the elevator lobby.
Sure.
This is what has happened so many times. And I saw this from PFT. Hard Rock Stadium suffered significant damage during that security breach. Dolphins are still assessing the extent of, they refer to it as vandalism. It was freaking riotous chaos is what it is. And you probably saw social media videos in which, people were climbing into ventilation ducts to get into the stadium. Children, families of 6, they're hoisting little Johnny and Susie over the fence and handing them to strangers so that they could then climb the fence and get over. 7, I saw estimates anywhere from basically 6 to 8,000 people, unticketed fans, jumping into the stadium. You see, you buy your tickets. You do this in advance, whether it's StubHub or it's SeatGeek, Ticketmaster potentially. You pay ridiculous fees, $2,000 a seat, and you pay all that money. You have to wait 2 hours to get into the stadium. You get into the stadium, you grab your $12 beer and your $15 hot dog that just has ketchup on it. So you're already much maligned and in an awful mood as it is. And then you finally, you work your way down to your seat. And there's 2 people sitting in your seat. And you paid $2,000 for that. This has happened, Brett. You're a soccer fan, as I am. We appreciate the global game. We have, admittedly, and Colombia and Argentina, those are the 2 teams that were playing. This happens in South America on a regular basis. This happens in Central America. This has happened in Euros tournaments. This has happened in other World Cup venues. It is always a disaster. There is a certain subset of fans that, and frankly, it worked to their advantage, right? Because ultimately, security is thinking, we got to call the cops, we got to do this, we got to get these people out of here. They held strong, and then they just gave up because the people just kept coming, and there was nothing they could do about it. And an extra 8,000 fans trying to rush into the stadium, you delay the match. The whole thing's ridiculous, but now it's also, thankfully, 2 years in advance of the World Cup, it's a learning opportunity because this will happen. This will happen. They will try to do it if you give them at least enough real estate to get as close to the stadium as they did. Is there going to be extra fencing? Are we talking guys and gals in freaking riot gear outside of a soccer game? The United States is one, we're good at a couple of things. When it comes to the world of hosting massive events, nobody has the resources or, in some ways, the processes ironed out as well as the United States does. From a pro sporting standpoint, college sports, people build up Olympics in certain cities, and it becomes disastrous wastelands 10 years later. Even when I went to a Premier League match in London, the ticketing process is awful. It's not enjoyable. It is not fun. They don't have either the third-party resources.
It's illegal.
On site, it's an absolute rat's nest of people trying to unweave themselves and find their way into the stadiums. We do it right here in the United States, so appreciate those lines. Appreciate the clear, small bags in comparison to what it could be elsewhere, but they got to figure this out before the World Cup because it will happen. There will be games, there will be venues where there are 10,000 fans from another country outside. They have no tickets to the game. They're not interested in buying tickets, but they are very interested and very willing to climb in a ventilation duct to get into the stadium, and they got to figure out how to mitigate that as much as they can. Anything else?
No, that's
all right.
Got us there.
Yeah, perfect. That's News de Nord. It's brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park, CanterburyPark.com. For all details, live racing, poker, blackjack, table games, all year round, having some sips at Chips and tipping Derek Allen a bunch of money. Have fun at Canterbury Park, the pride of Shakopee. When we return, the voice of the Minnesota Lynx. You hear him on these airwaves. You've heard him 9 to noon in the past. You've heard him Sundays with Brett and Max Fuller and Robbie Rosenhaus. Worst case scenario. I think it's best case scenario personally, but that's just my opinion. Wendell Epps is in studio with me. We'll chat about the Lynx and hoops when we return. Final hour ahead on The Fan.